name's Selena and I'm the creator behind Fab Knitwear. Today I'm here with a brand new design release. The second pattern of the Heirloom Collection is being released and it is the Folklore Ruffle top. So I've talked about the creation and concept of this collection before. I'm gonna run over it quickly. I am designing and working on a collection based on inspiration I have from accurate historical silhouettes and shapes and garments. That's not to say that these patterns are historically correct, but they are inspired by actual pieces of historic clothing. So the first one was the antiquity blouse, which was inspired by a blouse pattern that was, or a blouse silhouette style cut that was popular in the late 1910s. That was the first one. This is the second. It's, as I said, the Folklore Ruffle top, and there are 3 more to come. Let's dive in with this top, shall we? So I wanted to knit something sheer and simple, but with that very precise sort of vintage something. And the vintage communities, if I can say that, its favourite, and I generalise here, style of top for summer is without a doubt, from what I've observed, not speaking for everyone, but that appears to be the Hungarian peasant blouse. Now, peasant blouses have been common through many different countries and different cultures, not just Hungarian. In Norway we have bunadsskjorta, which is our bunads blouse, shirt, tunic, which is inspired by Norwegian folk wear. Which is long sleeved, it's a bit colder here maybe, then say Greece. Greece has their beautiful versions with embroidery. Hungary, which is the very popular and probably most iconic style, which is usually has puff shoulders and beautiful embroidery. And Romania has gorgeous peasant blouses. So many wonderful national traditional blouses with the same sort of concept, if it's a simple linen or cotton, sometimes for the wealthy, and not that common though. You get chiffon, you get gauze, you get silk, and most of them have embroidery traditional to their culture or their country. So in Norway we have wonderful traditional embroidery, as you can usually tell the difference. If you find embroidered vintage blouses, with some research you will most likely be able to figure out if it's Greek, is it Hungarian, is it Romanian, is it Norwegian. But what they do have in common are those factors, and then they differ some in embroidery and in cut, such as short sleeves, open here, not open there, long sleeves, are they fitted, are they blousing, are they all these things. These blouses have historically just been chemises or camisoles, tunics. If you look through history, it's I spoke about this for the release of my Peasant blouse, which is a very simple sort of drawstring inspired peasant top, inspired by the undergarments worn basically through history, usually with layers on top. So the peasant blouses, the embroidered ones, are the more dressed up versions that maybe they would wear for like a fest or a dance or a celebration of some sort. It was their Sunday best, so to speak. And as this was, I was looking at historical references for the inspiration of this collection. There are so many beautiful peasant blouses that were popular in the 1920s and 30s, and they're just absolutely wonderful. There are so many gorgeous examples. I have one myself, mine is from the 60s. I have a friend who has her grandma's 1930s one, and it's amazing, just absolutely wonderful. So that was my inspiration for this pattern. So let me show you the sketches. So this is where it started, and just note I made a kind of transition from a more normal 30s top into peasant blouse. Here we have, I was looking at different silhouettes and necklines that I were figuring out which one I was doing. I opted for this one in the end with the slit between the bust with embroidery running up on each side of the neckline. So those were my sketches and just working through it. To create the sheer effect that I knew I wanted for this, I used a single strand of mohair silk. This is a single strand, it's worked on 4mm needles. For me at least, that's where I got gauge. And it's knit bottom up, let's start there. It's knit bottom up with this lovely feminine ruffle. You then reach the waistband, which is knit in a solid yarn. For this, I've used 2 solid yarns because I wanted to use up scraps. You don't need loads, say 10 grams of each colour. So I have used 2 colours for this. And I've slip stitches to make this kind of mosaic. Look. And so you decrease and you knit the mosaic ribbed waistband. You then switch over, I should say, to mohair again, and you knit up. The sleeves are knit the same way as the ruffle, obviously just a smaller stitch count, and it has the same mosaic ribbing to create this lovely ruffle and the puff that follows. It's knit in the round up until this point, and here you have to start knitting back and forth. It has a ribbed neckline as well. This is knit in a single colour. Just pick whichever one. If you end up using 2 colours, pick whichever one you want for this one. And then there's a little ruffle again at the top. It's really a quite simple design in that sense, but I think it's so, it transferred well into knitting from what the original garment looks like. It's a wonderful top. Obviously it's summery because these are the colours I've chosen and they're quite summery colours. You can knit this in any colour to work for any season. Let me show you some more. It also has, it wouldn't be a peasant blouse without embroidery, which is of course completely optional. This is the embroidery that I did. I did the embroidery in the same colours that I did the ribbing, and I added a tiny bit of pink simply because I had some lying around as a scrap. So the solids here are great scrap busters from your stash if you have any ends lying around that you would like to actually use. This version is knit in Pickles silk mohair and Pickles pure wool. But you could use any silk mohair silk that you want, and pretty much any fingering weight, light sport weight yarn as a solid. You could, if you don't like knitting mohair, knit the whole thing in a solid yarn, just make sure it's drapey. So for instance, Athena, my yarn, would be a great version for that. It's a Gold Stellina nylon merino fingering weight, just make sure it's light and drapey enough. if you do not want to knit the whole thing in mohair, and mind your gauge. I also knit another version, which is knit in Fable Knitwear hand-dyed yarn mohair silk, the colour Petal, and Fable Knitwear Athena in Moulin Rouge. It's so lovely, if I can say so myself. I used, as I said, Petal for the mohair silk, and I used Moulin Rouge for the ribbing. I only wanted to use one colour here, just to show that you don't have to use two, you don't have to use one. You can mix it up as you choose. And also I didn't have another skein in a colour that I wanted to pair it with already caked up, and I didn't want to cake up a full skein just for this. I did the embroidery in Moulin Rouge, but I'm not too sure about it. And for this one I added a little drawstring, or not a drawstring, just a tie here, which I'm contemplating doing on this as well, to be able to close it. I feel like with the drawstring, I'm tempted to pick up the embroidery because I think the drawstring is decorative in itself. But I love the embroidery on this, so which is why I'm not sure if I want to add that additional layer. That's completely optional and so easy to pick up and do again. Maybe you change your mind, it's absolutely fine. So this is the Folklore Ruffle top. I am so in love with this design. It makes me feel like Snow White in the best possible sense. There's no stepmother trying to kill me or anything, but just it's such a fairy tale like pattern. And I think with the puff sleeves, puff shoulders, they just make it. They're exactly the shape that I wanted them to be. So happy with it. I would like to show you some of my test knitters. Just a little tip, depending on how you like your garments to sit at your neck, I feel like this one sits absolutely fine, but if for some reason this could happen, or because it sits quite far out on the shoulder, so if you do not like the possibility of it moving, I would simply sew in an elastic behind this ribbing, a flat elastic, and it should lay just the way you want it to. That's just, I've not done it, but if you wanted to sit exactly where you wanted to sit and not move around, I would do that. I hope you like this design. I am so pleased with it. It's something new, I think, and a bit different, and it translates so well, as I said, from the original inspiration to knitwear. I'm so pleased with it. And the process was such fun. Knitting it was such fun, and it's quite quick. Once you get over that bump of knitting with a single strand of mohair, you're good. It takes a bit, it takes a while to get used to, and then once you're at it, you're good. I also love this under a dress, I think it just enhances that fairy tale like aspect of it to the max, which I thoroughly enjoy. So the styling options are many and varied. Thank you so much for watching. As I said, I hope you like this design. If you end up knitting it, or any of my patterns for that matter, remember to use the hashtags mentioned in the pattern so that I can see when you post, because it literally makes my day. Thank you again, and I will see you next time. Bye.